Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and I'm sorry if you're watching this and it's a little dark here. Basically, we're going through some pretty bad storms in Chicago right now, so bear with me on this, but here we go. What we're talking about today is Apple, because Apple's new scanning system they're about to put on your iPhone and your iPad could actually help authoritarian regimes. Now, here's what's going on. This is actually a rather complex topic with good, bad, and ugly, so I think it's an interesting situation and also rather concerning as well. Now, this is coming primarily from Cyberscoop, but I did look up other sources as well. Here's what's going on. Apple announced this past Thursday that it will introduce a feature to detect child sexual abuse images being uploaded to iCloud Photos from iPhone devices here in the United States. Now, the company has framed this feature as a privacy-preserving way to combat the absolute scourge of images of sexually explicit content involving children that is unfortunately shared online. Now, this is a radical shift in the approach to device privacy from Apple, which has found itself oftentimes clashing between tech companies and law enforcement over basically encryption technology. Security researchers and privacy experts say that the company's decision could lead to a slippery slope of government abuse and has radically shifted the debate over encrypted technologies. And that's kind of where I come in here. But overall, let's continue because most major cloud services, including Dropbox, Google, and Microsoft, already scan for basically child exploitation materials. And what makes Apple's new system basically distinct is that search begins on your phone, not on Apple's cloud. So here's what's happening. Apple compares the photo on your device to basically known existing child exploitation material using a hashing technology known as neural hash. It assigns each photo a unique number specific to an image. It then compares those numbers to hashes the company has created from a database of known child sexual abuse materials, or CSAM, provided by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and other child safety organizations. Basically, what they're talking about is if you, as a criminal, download one of these CSAM images that is already known in the database, the iPhone basically sees this as unique hash, it sees it there, and therefore Apple now knows that you have that on your phone. Now, if the photos appear nearly identical, they will produce the same hash number. That image is then flagged when it's uploaded to iCloud, and once the account receives a certain number of matches, it then escalates to Apple for review. The company will then share that with basically the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to review before sharing that with law enforcement. So basically, if they catch you uploading a whole bunch of this stuff, they're going to go ahead, put eyeballs on it at Apple, send it over to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to confirm with them as a secondary, and then go to law enforcement and basically put law enforcement out on you. Now, basically, Apple is going to start scanning your pictures, but they actually disagree with that statement, and here's why. Apple actually disputed in a call with reporters that this comparison system amounts to scanning, as basically many experts have suggested. The company said that unless a photo is a match and uploaded to the cloud, the hash assigned to the photo will never be interpreted into an image by Apple. So the technology is designed to prevent Apple from learning about every single photo on your phone, something it obviously has the power to do if it already wanted. And we know that when things go into the cloud, they get scanned. Look at Facebook, Google, etc. Apple has their own cloud. And so to quote Jonathan Meyer, of computer science professor at Princeton, and I quote, "What Apple's system doesn't address is many societal problems associated with implementing the system. These include things like, for example, weighing the privacy of ordinary users against combating basically child abuse material, as well as the potential for technology to be abused by government surveillance." Now, Apple has long had basically a voice. They've been one of the voices of privacy in the ongoing debate between Silicon Valley and the government over encryption, though they haven't always been as private as they have claimed. And I've done videos and writing on that. But publicly, though, Apple famously refused a series of government requests between 2015 and 2016 to unlock the phone of the San Bernardino shooter who killed 14 people. And basically, Apple said, we're not going to do it because to unlock that, basically, to unlock our own encryption means we unlock it for all iPhone users, and we are not going to do that. And that was a whole thing. I actually wrote an article for my old publisher back then called Apple and Goliath on that very thing, but I was very proud of Apple for standing up to that, even though obviously that was a very dire circumstance. Now, by expressing willingness, though, to begin search processes on your phone, Apple is signaling that they're looking or possibly may recant those principles. And basically, according to Rihanna Prefercorn, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she's a research scholar at Stanford, quote, client-side running isn't a privacy or a data security issue either. It's a freedom of expression issue. Once the door is open to the client-side scanning, meaning your phone, there is no way it stops with child abuse material. Now, both Parsons and Prefercorn, I apologize if you watch this and I'm screwing up your last name. They both agree that this move will only redouble efforts from governments around the world to basically get Apple to start complying with their surveillance requests. And to quote Prefercorn again, Apple's move won't deflect government pressure, it will only attract more, not just from authoritarian states like China, a huge market where Apple has compromised its stated values in the past. And we have seen that recently, not just Apple, but a lot of massive U.S. corporations have basically kowtowed to the Chinese government, weakening encryption or using or basically aligning themselves with stances that the Chinese government demands. And so that's obviously a huge problem, and that is a massive market for Apple. I have personally been to the Apple store in Beijing in the Wangfujing district, and it's like 4 or 5 stories. It is huge, and it was packed. So obviously they've got a huge presence there. Now, Parsons also raised the possibility that governments could use spyware to place abuse imagery on the phones of targets and then attract law enforcement. This is actually something I've talked about in presentations and speeches, where an attacker can basically break into your computer, download that kind of content, and call the cops on you. So that's obviously a huge thing. And we've also seen recently, a couple of years ago, with an exploit for Apple called Karma, and this recent one from the NSO group called Pegasus, that getting into these phones for surveillance is pretty easy, which means if you can surveil it and capture it, you can also send something to the phone as well. Now, Apple disputed that this new system will be seen by authoritarian regimes as a potential new form of surveillance in that call with reporters, but come on. I mean, you're literally getting your hooks into a phone and scanning it, and then that's syncing up to the cloud. So come on. Now, Apple's change comes in response to building a wave of pressure, or rather a building wave of pressure from governments and child advocacy groups that basically want them to essentially step up their game, and they've been lagging behind. So for an example, Facebook in 2020 reported 20.3 million pieces of child abuse images, which is just staggering to me. Google reported 546,704 across all their platforms, and Apple for that same time period reported just 265. That's obviously way low. And so here we are. Now, the dangers of child exploitation material have long been used by law enforcement as an argument against mass encryption. This is something else that we've talked about as well. When Facebook announced its plans to introduce encryption end-to-end in its messaging platforms like WhatsApp, it was basically besieged by criticism from the Justice Department. The DOJ and law enforcement in the UK and also Australia have urged Facebook to basically stop their encryption rollouts. Now, technical questions about the new technology remain. Experts that basically were in on the ground floor of this say that Apple has done very little to show how it will safeguard this hash set from neural hash from outside interference, meaning how can it be spoofed, copied, exploited, whatever that is. It also hasn't provided any technical insights into the effectiveness of its computer image matching technology, which will be just as important as the cryptography component here. And think about it. My God, imagine having a slew of false positives because you're just taking pictures of your kids and they're perfectly innocent, and then you get flagged for something. That is horrible. That would be a potential thing. Now, in its technical paper, Apple says that there is an extremely low probability, then they say 1 in 1 trillion, of incorrectly flagging an account. Don't know if I believe that. We'll see. The algorithm used by Neural Hash was not made available to independent researchers. So again, we are taking Apple at their word that it is actually 1 in 1 trillion. Apple is also introducing an on-machine feature that will detect explicit imagery on the phones of minors in order to inform their parents that they may be sending or receiving such explicit material. Siri and iPhone will also flag when a user is searching for that kind of content online. So if you pop open Google or you ask Siri where you can download child abuse materials, 1, you're a complete idiot. 2, you should be in jail. And 3, why would you even do that? I mean, my God. But this really underscores, I think, a huge problem that we have here. Nobody is going to deny that we have problems with making victims out of children in this horrific and awful way. Nobody wants that, and no parent wants that out there either. We want to find and we want to jail these monsters, but we always make laws to the lowest common denominator, meaning my privacy for being an innocent person, just like you're an innocent person sitting here watching this or listening to me, shouldn't have their privacy weakened by a government that could potentially get into your phone and surveil you. Not to mention the fact that if this phone is ever, or this system is ever exploited, that there could be false positives or people put in jail, or God forbid, imagine an intelligence agency inserting that into the phone of some high profile politician, and then they get arrested and nobody's ever going to believe that they didn't do that, that they didn't actually do that was somebody there inserting something into their phone. So I think this is a very, very potential dangerous precedent. I think we need to figure out good ways at combating child abuse, whether it's using the existing systems, stepping up law enforcement, or creating something else, but something that is actually going to be by default native in your phone that will scan absolutely every picture you take or do, understanding that Apple's saying it's not actually scanning, it's looking for this unique code, but come on. I mean, what if they're similar? I mean, there's a huge problem that I think we have here with this, and it's something that I think needs to be discussed. And this video/podcast has gone on a bit too long, but it's an important topic to have. It's a complex topic to have, and like I said, it's also a concerning topic to have. So I don't have an easy answer for you, but I do know that we have to do something. We are working on that, I think, as a society, but Apple will now start scanning your phone for the images that you have on there. Now you know. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks.